guiding you to the starting grid. This is Talking Motorsport with Alex Jones.
And there goes MK with 17 Rolling Stones, Honky Tonky Woman. Honky Tonk Woman, yeah, you know what I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah.
And, right, let's give the answer to the T for free and the winner. So, what was the question then again, Alex?
So the question was, which current German Formula 1 driver who races for Ferrari will be starting his 200th Grand Prix?
And the
answer is Sebastian Vettel.
Hey, there we go. So we had quite a few entries, as we always do.
We did, yeah. Thank you for all the entries. Yeah.
Yes, of course. And Alice in Ponty was picked as the winner today. So there we go. Well done to you, Alice. And we'll have more T for free action next Saturday. Right then, next we'll talk Formula 1. Oh dear, that was an awful noise then. There we go, Alex. Right, over to you.
Yeah, so you can join into Reese. Welcome to Talking Motorsport. Plenty to discuss just after the Bahrain qualifying, so we'll go through all of the qualifying. And superb pole position by Sebastian Vettel with Kimi Räikkönen in second. A dominant Ferrari performance and exceedingly good. Vettel was in control right at the end and managed to take it away from Räikkönen. And very much a disappointed Räikkönen by the looks of him, because he looked to feel as if he had the performance to take a pole position. But Sebastian Vettel, working beautifully with the balance of the car, and managed to seize that all-important pole position. His 51st career pole position, and the all-time pole position holder of Bahrain as well. And plenty to get out of this qualifying. Some really star performances. Now the performances who really disappointed as well. And also we'll talk about all the latest F1 news in regards to the new rules for 2021, the way the shape of the sport is going. But first of all, we'll take you through all parts of the qualifying, and an all-important. A great pole position by Sebastian Vettel to get into that. It looked like the last part of qualifying in particular, Räikkönen seemingly really had it. The Ferraris were much faster and stronger in comparison to the Mercedes. And one of the key things for Ferrari was really to get the best speed out of the car. And as Vettel has been saying, it's all about working on the balance of the car, and that's something which Ferrari in particular are working towards to get the optimal performance. Not to be so much of a fight to get the performance out of the car, but in the hands of Vettel for this one, it seemed to be worked perfectly to get out, and he was completely in the zone, got the absolute performance out of it. And the last flying lap of the last part of qualifying, came out and beat Räikkönen by over 0.2 of a second, and you could see what it means to Vettel to be in that position, and had the pace over Räikkönen. A disappointment for Räikkönen nevertheless, but Ferrari were immensely strong in comparison to Mercedes, with Bottas further down, and of course Hamilton has got his 5-place grid penalty, so not an optimal position for him. It will be strong. The race pace of Mercedes, it will be interesting to see how that compares to the Ferraris. And it was a mix, as we were talking about, the race pace seemed to be a mix with the Red Bulls and the Ferrari and the Mercedes, seemingly quite close in terms of overall race performance. But it was really much a cracking session throughout, from the first part of qualifying right down to the third, as we were watching race. And some good performances, and it really captivated your attention. And it was really it was interesting throughout the duration of it. And all the way further down as well. Some really star performances coming out there. Nevertheless, we're looking more in detail of their overall performance. But the first part of qualifying in particular, Grosjean got knocked out, so that was disappointing, because Haas have been relatively competitive in comparison between Grosjean and Magnussen. And Magnussen made it all the way through to the last part of qualifying and was in the top 10. So disappointing on that front, and obviously Verstappen crashed out in the first part of qualifying as well. So a big job for him to kind of fighting through the field. But we know what Verstappen will do. He'll be relentless in his wake to get back up the field. But all credit to Ferrari for that great pole position, as Toto Wolff is now commenting on as well. And interesting to see how they've got unleashed that turn of performance, and that's what we want, the battle between Mercedes. Mercedes have slightly got the faster car overall in terms of overall performance, but we're struggling a little bit with the tyres, working to get the heat in the super soft tyres, because Hamilton went out on the super soft tyres towards the end of the last part of qualifying, and both Mercedes were down in comparison to the Ferraris. We're struggling to get the heat into the tyres and working more optimally on the softer tyre, which Hamilton will be starting on in the start of the race tomorrow anyway as well. So an interesting divergence in strategy, and very much an interesting thing to see how that has gone, and some really good other performances as well. The usual suspects are further out at the last part of qualifying, with the Saubers being knocked out, but Marcus Ericsson out qualifying Charles Leclerc, his teammate, and it looked like Charles Leclerc had the performance to beat Ericsson slightly a little bit, but Ericsson had the pace in the end to beat him, so those usual suspects were out towards the bottom, so no other big shock apart from Grosjean being knocked out in that fact. But it was very much an exciting session throughout, frantic, real pace, and the Williams were knocked out in the last part of qualifying as well. A very dismal performance, and that's been the thing for Williams, is that they're in a shocking state of affairs at the moment. It could really be to really evaluate the overall performance. There's no Sorokin and Stroll. There was no absolute performance, and to be able to extract that from the car, so it's hard to see how they're able to turn that around in any fast situation as well, because to be in that performance where the Saubers are at the bottom, not to take anything away from where the Saubers are, because the Saubers are working to get further back up the field. They're working slowly as well, but Williams in a very spiral of any lackluster. They've got overall lackluster performance at the moment as well. So it's hard to see how Williams will be able to move forward quickly on this one. So shocking from Williams. So they're the big knockout in the first part of qualifying, and so in particular, lots of things to really discuss. But we'll have more after the next break as well. Yeah, so welcome back. Yeah, very much a sublime pole position by Sebastian Vettel, very much controlled in the usual Sebastian Vettel style, and ultimately won with his car, and was able to place the Ferrari everywhere that he really wanted. And we're just watching the lap right now as well, and just taking the car really smoothly and able to control it every pinpoint at every apex that he's able to do. And what Sebastian Vettel really enjoys the most is a car where he's able to have that predictability, so he's able to control it, have the balance really well, and that was something Vettel was discussing quite in a high level of detail as well. And Ferrari have been working hard towards that, with a big update coming for the next race in China as well. So it's this ebb and flow in the fight. We can't discount Mercedes by any means, because as we said, Hamilton's on a contra strategy going into the race, and subsequently be starting in 9th place. But an unbelievable level of performance by Sebastian Vettel to get into that, and disappointing on the other hand for Raikkonen, who gave it everything he could. A high level disappointed, because it would be great to have Raikkonen on pole position. He gave it his all. Ultimately gave it his all as well, but Vettel just managed right at the end to get everything out of the car and deliver that 51st career pole position. The level of hunger that he's got, this is an opportune moment to have a chance to get in pole position and hopefully fight for the win for Ferrari as well. But a great level performance of Ferrari, and disappointment on the other hand for Mercedes as well, and for Red Bull, with Daniel Ricciardo finishing further behind the Ferraris, the Mercedes as well, and Ricciardo said that he felt a little disappointed to be further back from the overall pack, but have the first few cars within 0.4 of a second is good for Formula One. but the race pace will be where the stronger hand is really at, and it looks stronger for the race. So we'll see how that plays out. But really a high level of intense competitiveness between all of those cars. But a lot of answers for Mercedes to go through, but a tight battle between it anyway as well. But other disappointments, we'll talk more of that in detail as well. But there was big disappointments in the second part of qualifying, with both McLarens unable to get through to Q3, so languishing further down, and Eric Boullier, the McLaren principal, has said that they will launch a major investigation to make it through into Q3. So disappointing, they can only manage 13th and 14th positions, and being out-qualified by both Toro Rossos as well. So hugely disappointing. A really lackluster, seemingly a real lackluster of pace for the McLarens as well. It was quite astonishing to have that lack of pace. They were unable to do anything to get in to enable themselves to get further up, and that was quite a shock as well, a big surprise. And as Eric Boullier has said, it was obviously a big surprise in comparison to the pace they had in third practice. So when it really mattered to deliver that pace, there's a lot of answers for McLaren to have to be able to reach that level of ambitions that they have for this season, to be able to not only to be ahead of the rest of the pack, to be able to have the chance to get onto the podiums. So there's a lot of answers to have. We'll see how that that turns around in the race, the overall race pace. But still, a lot of questions to be had for McLaren at the moment if they're unable to get out to this part of qualifying, and to enable themselves to be able to further ambitions to get further up the field as well. So retrospectively qualifying for Alonso Van Dorn to qualify in 13th and 14th positions is quite astonishingly disappointing to be in that position as well. So we'll see what will happen. See what will happen between those. So disappointing on that front. So what will McLaren enable themselves to do? So that'll be an interesting fact as well. Yeah, really. Disappointing for McLaren. Just seemingly didn't have a lack of pace.
Yes, no.
Yeah, it's shocking for McLaren to be in that position.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But I was watching. I've just been watching it on and off in the background and see how the qualifying has been going. So it's been good to see it and talking about it at the same time. So
lots of things to really talk about, because there's a lot to analyse, and hopefully McLaren will be able to develop a bit fast, and we'll see what they're able to deliver in the race. But as we said, it was disappointing in that way, and there was lots of good performances as well. We have to say one of the stars of qualifying really was Gasly for Toro Rosso, qualifying there now in 6th place as well. Was a really strong, utterly strong performance, and he's been in control of the Toro Rosso throughout the whole of the weekend, really. Delivering on terms of the pace, really good high level of confidence with the car, and a good level of pace as well. The Toro Rosso has been working really superbly in his hands. His teammate Brendan Hartley didn't make it into Q3, but both Toro Rossos in the end were able to extract a good level of performance and the level of competitiveness. And for Gasly in particular, has been immensely strong, and for myself, he was a star of qualifying, aside from Sebastian Vettel, to be ahead of the Renaults as well, and to be ahead of the Haas. How that will translate into his race performance, but still, it was still an astounding performance by Gasly to extract the absolute performance from that Toro Rosso, of course with the Honda engine as well. It was very much a driver-centered performance in the way in which Sebastian Vettel delivered pole position. Gasly was able to place the car really well and extract that performance, and Toro Rosso were looking to do the best they can, and it's been a better track for them. As Gasly said, it's more about the track performance suiting the car, but Gasly delivering an astounding performance, and it has to be very much highlighted the fact when a driver really delivers and really captivates your attention in that way, he really deserves that attention to talk about his performance, because he delivered probably one of the second best laps of qualifying, to be there to qualify in what is a really tight battle in the midfield, as we've spoken about, with both Renaults in the mix as well, with Sainz and Hulkenberg to get into that performance. It was really a drive of brilliance as well, in the same way as we said with Sebastian Vettel. So a really strong performance, but we'll have more after the next break as well, Reece.
Yeah, cool.
Guiding you to the starting grid. This is Talking Motorsport with Alex Jones.
Yeah, welcome back to Talking Motorsport. Yeah, still last part of the show now. There's still plenty to discuss, really. And Vettel's last lap. Vettel's lap was very astounding, as we said about Pierre Gasly as well, demonstrating an exceedingly brilliant lap and demonstrating the Honda engine. It's got a good level of performance in it. And the Toro Rosso doing brilliantly, as Pierre Gasly said. We're talking about, it was one of the best laps he's done, and a hugely standout lap, really. And a really exceedingly good performance. So that was an excellent thing as well. And we're in for a cracker for a race. Look at it. Hamilton's slightly on a little bit of the back foot in terms of performance, and as he was discussing as well, a mixture of strategies are going to be in play as well. So we'll see how he will deliver that in the race as well. So plenty of action to really watch out for, and a lot to really take away from qualifying, and good level performances. And for Force India as well, Ocon out qualifying Perez and getting into the top 10. And it's a really tight affair in the midfield. And Force India had brought some front wing updates for the car as well. They're looking to bring back some performance of the car, because they're a little bit behind on performance at the moment, but working hard to get themselves at the forefront of the midfield at the moment. And as we know, with Force India, they're able to deliver everything pretty fast, and hopefully we'll see that in the mix. But still a slowish start to them at the moment for Force India, but we'll see how they're able to fight it out. But good performance for Ocon to get into the top 10, and just behind Magnussen and Gasly in the mix, and the Renaults in the mix as well. And as we were talking about before, Renaults are looking to get themselves right in the mix of in the midfield eventually as well, to develop fast and to be at the forefront of the midfield. In particular, they're a team who have good ambitions. They're building them slowly as they go along, and they're in that phase of the development program. But they want to really have that opportune chance to fight out in the midfield. But at the front and throughout the midfield, there's really epically tight battles, and the margins performance where everything is really made. It really differentiates and gets you ahead. And there's a lot of action to look out for, particularly right at the front of the field. And a superb lap by Sebastian Vettel to deliver that was. No, it was really brilliant, but a lot of variables as well. We'll see what Mercedes are able to do with the race, particularly in terms of strategy. But Hamilton a little bit, feeling a bit distant from it, just a little bit, because not really where he wants to be. But Bottas is in the mix as well, and so really lot to discuss and to eventually, and a little bit about the rules for. So a lot of things going on for the F1 world in the news for 2021 rules, which are going on at the moment as well. So the Liberty Media and FIA have come out with an outline of how they want the future of the sport to be, a 5-point plan in terms of addressing financial aspects and sporting aspects as well, making the sport more inclusive, to have to appreciate the value of the likes of Williams and Force India, because they felt a little bit depreciated, because for a long time now they've wanted to have a bigger say in terms of how the rules have been implemented, and how it's not so favourable towards the bigger teams, but the sport really looks at the value they add to the sport as well, because the midfield battle, they give, even though there's a lot of performance differentiates, they like to force into what they're able to deliver on the budget that they really have at hand. Is quite exceptional. So the new rules are trying to address a balance between all of that, and so an engine development is more favourable for new engine manufacturers to come into the sport as well. So there's a lot of detail which will be more drawn out a lot of time as well. But so it's an interesting direction Formula 1 is heading towards towards for the future as well. But it's going to be a great Grand Prix tomorrow, lots of action. But we'll have a lot more detail for the race review next weekend as well. And it's going to be a really tight affair to see what Vettel's going to do and Hamilton to come fight out in the midfield, and what Bottas can do as well. So he wants to deliver a superb performance in the race, and it's going to be a real race to really watch. A lot of action in it for sure.
Cool, is that everything?
Yeah, that's everything. Right?
Thank you, Alex. And there goes Anastasia with I'm Out of Love, and we are out of time, Alex.
Yeah, we are. We've had a real fun show, haven't we?
It has, yes.
Done really lots, and it's finally finished.
Yes, it's flown by, isn't it? So
that's really flown by for this one.
Don't know when I'll be back on next, though.
Yeah,
but Saturday. But thank you, Alex. So we will hear from you next week. I will be back on the breakfast show on Monday. Gavin is next. Yes, I'm up at 5 o'clock on Monday morning.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I know, painful. Yes. Oh dear, but it's all worth it though. Yeah. Right, Gavin is next, and we'll leave you with this.
Contact the show on tmswcbf@gmail.com. See you next Saturday at 5 on GTFM. You've downloaded an official podcast or programme of the Welsh Community Broadcasting Federation, pioneering independent broadcasting for individuals and communities. wcbf.webs.com